So I always say that the Americans are the most propagandized people in the world, but what makes it horrible is they don't know that they are. They think they're not. They think propaganda happens in China and Russia, but it doesn't happen here. It happens here probably more than those countries, for sure. And at least in China, when somebody watches the news, they know it's being censored by the government. They know this most likely is propaganda. And back in the old Soviet Union, people knew that too. But in the United States, people don't know that. And why do I bring this up? Because this is a woman going to ask a question of former finance minister of Greece. His name is Yanis Varoufakis, and he's considered very progressive, even though he rolled over for the banks. And he fought a fight, but then at the end he caved. But he's a truth teller about things in general, about world politics and the role of the West and banking. And so this woman is, if I was doing my comedy act, I would say my sister who watches too much cable news. And when you watch too much cable news, you end up being angry at people who have nothing to do with you. That's the beauty of cable news. They can get you angry, upset, or afraid of people who have nothing to do with you. And here's a perfect example. This woman is so propagandized, she thinks that China helping other countries build up their infrastructure is bad for the world. Watch.
I've been very concerned lately about China.
Let me just interpret that. I've been watching a lot of cable news.
The kids have moved out, so I got a lot of free time on my hands.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of cable news. That's what that tells you.
I've been very concerned lately about China. They're in...
Because that's what the television tells me to be concerned about. And what is it that China's doing that concerns you so much? Wait till you hear.
Africa, they're lending money to countries to build ports and different...
Oh my God! Did you hear?
Yeah, they're supposed to be blowing it up.
So what America does is blow up those countries. That's what America does. America goes in, gives money to or finds some rebels, people who are disaffected in their country, floods them with weapons and money, and tells them to go knock off the president of that country, and then millions of people end up getting dead. But she's upset that China is lending money to countries so they can build ports.
Yeah.
Why? Because she's been told that that's a bad thing.
To build what?
Port.
And what's wrong with that?
And, well, because...
Countries that need ports get ports.
But they're making people dependent on... I mean, I know. It's the same thing that we've done, which is horrible around the world.
No, it's not the same thing that we've done.
We didn't do anything that good.
Yeah. What we do is we like I just said, we invade your country, decapitate your leaders, and then start a civil war, and then steal your resources. What the IMF does is go to poor countries, give them loans they can never pay back, and then they take their natural resources in lieu of them paying back their loans. So then their whole country becomes privatized and corporatized. So it is different. What China's doing is not that. He's going to tell you.
They are far more humanistic than the United States ever was.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely.
Great. So...
And I know it's not that woman's fault. She doesn't know. She thinks Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity are telling her the truth about China. Why would they lie about China? They're both saying the same thing. Rachel Maddow and Sean Hannity are saying the exact same thing about China. Why would they both be lying in the same way? They're supposed to hate each other, Kurt.
It's because if she's going to see this guy, Varoufakis or whatever,
Yanis,
she's probably not watching Fox News. She probably got that off of a CNN or an MSNBC.
You're probably right.
Let me give you an example. Of course, they are peddling for influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so he says, of course, China wants influence, like everyone does. Okay, that's like saying you sell T-shirts.
China's grifting.
China's a grifter. Here we go. We back it up a little.
Yeah. But they are non-interventionist. Absolutely non-interventionist in a way that Europeans, the West, has never managed to fathom. The Chinese never asked Apple to go to Shenzhen and produce all the iPhones. It was Steve Jobs that decided that. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
It was not China.
And so what he's telling her is China's not your enemy. The people who run this country are your enemy. China didn't take our jobs. Our jobs were given to China by the capitalists in our own country who are the enemy of our own country because the only thing they serve is the dollar. And they can make more money by having slaves in China making their products. They will. They don't care about building America up or making a great community where their companies are. All they care about is maximum profits. And so who did that? The American traders to America. They even gave you a tax break if you sent an American manufacturing job to China. That's how corrupt our government is. She'll never be told that on watching CNN or MSNBC or Sean Hannity.
Even if China, let's say China is my personal enemy, why did you send all the jobs to my enemy?
Why would you send all the jobs to our enemy?
Like, isn't that treason?
Right? Here we go.
That went to Washington, D.C. and demanded that they buy a third of your national debt. If they hadn't bought it, you would be in serious trouble.
Yes, they forget about that. Like that's the joke I used to do about Afghanistan. We're a bunch of capitalists borrowing money from a bunch of communists, meaning the Chinese, so we can bring democracy to a bunch of Muslims that don't even want it. And so he's telling her, hey, China is undergirding your economy right now because they bought your debt.
When it comes to the influence of China outside its borders, it's quite remarkable that they don't seem to have any military ambitions. Instead of going into Africa with troops, colonially, destroying the country, killing people like the West has done for the last 100 years, what they did was they went to Addis Ababa and they said to the government, we can see you have problems with your infrastructure. We would like to build some new airports, upgrade your railway system, create a telephone system, and rebuild your roads. And we'll do this all for free. No strings attached. We don't want anything from you. And they did. Why did they do it? Because it's soft power.
They don't want anything. So that's a little different than what the United States has been doing in Africa.
Well, it's to get soft power. And I think that like what you're supposed to feel is like, oh, they're trying to get soft power. I don't care. Why would I care if I live there if they didn't blow me up or take my stuff? But they have soft power for
But they gave us ports and bridges and roads and clean water and
why didn't we do that?
And electrical grids. Why didn't we go invest in Africa instead of what we did? That's because that's not what we do. We're rapers of the world, Kurt.
Immensely self-serving, as they would. But at the same time, they have a quality that we need in Southern Europe. Actually, I think everybody needs to have foreign direct investment by patient investors. They're patient investors. They don't come in to grab an asset for speculative purposes. They come in order to create a base on which to build and build and build, and their horizon is 20, 30-year horizon. What Europe has not done with Greece is to do what the Chinese were prepared to do, to come there with their workers, with their engineers, and actually do some serious work.
So China is willing to go and invest in countries and wait 20 to 30 years. The European Union was not willing to do that with Greece. They went in and just smacked them with austerity. That's what the IMF does. That's what the United States does, and then or the United States also blows you up. Let's go to, here's what Jay Buffon says. He says, "Who is the United States to decide what is good for Africa? Isn't that for Africa to decide? This is like an abusive boyfriend complaining about his girlfriend's new guy friend that helps her with moving stuff and other innocuous things, but he feels threatened that he actually helps her." That's right. This is the United States. Hey, we're supposed to come over and beat the shit out of that girl. Why are you buying her nice things and taking her out to dinner?
You're trying to get soft power.
Try to get soft power with her. So that's the effect of propaganda. And I'm not hating on that woman. I'm just pointing out that she doesn't know she's being propagandized, and that's most people. She didn't expect him to say any of that stuff that he said. Now, just remember, this is the United States military bases around the world. Russia doesn't have that. China doesn't have that. The United States has this. Let's watch. This is fun. This is the America. This is how empires end. You want to see how empires end? This is how they end. No matter which way you spin the globe, there's nothing but American naval bases, even in the middle of nowhere. Even in the middle of nowhere. Look, we put 3 more in Philippines just the other day. Is that the Philippines? We put 3 more like in 2 weeks.
You know what else this looks like? Snapcrap, the San Francisco app for human turds on the street.
Look at this. This is Central America. Look at South America. Look at all these bases we have. Look at, oh my God, here it comes. Look at Africa. This is what we do to Africa. China comes in and gives these people money and helps build them ports and infrastructure. We put military bases there and start funding, and we start funding terrorists to overthrow their governments. That's what we do. We're telling jokes in Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Chicago, Rosemont, San Diego, and more. Go to jimmydore.com to get a link for all those tickets. Plus, you can watch my new special, COVID Lies Are Funny.